talk with each other. There are heterogeneous data sources and formats in companies and within each company, and of course in the ecosystem. So it's difficult to let the company talk together with the same format, with the same kind of data. It's needed to define a common process for the exchanges of information. So it's just not a matter of creating a platform or having a platform. This is a governance issue. So in a supply chain, we need to have someone that is leading the governance processes on how to exchange this information, that is taking the lead of the supply chain from a digital point of view. Then, of course, we need to guarantee the security of data exchange, because and to guarantee the intellectual property of data. How? So the question is how we can exchange data in this way and satisfy all these requirements. A possible approach of this comes from the IDSA standard. IDSA is for International Data Space Association. What does this association make? The IDSA, that is an association that has been, let's say, created and in Germany many years ago, now is an international association, is defining the reference architecture, interface, framework, and sample code in order to create an open data ecosystem. So the IDSA is defining the standards, the reference architecture that allows to exchange data from a secure point of view. So which are the requirements that IDSA is fulfilling? So the trust. Okay, trust is the basis of international data space. Okay, so we need to have identity management, okay, of participants and people joining the supply chain. Data market, of course, because as we have discussed in the previous use case and the presentation of other colleagues, data spaces and data market are necessary to create new business model, new services, okay? But we need to have usage restriction and legal aspects should be provided and satisfied. Security and data sovereignty. So the data sovereignty is one of the key points of IDSA. So how the data, the sovereignty of data, it's really important to understand which is the owner of the data and which is and the data consumer can use this data only if it is fulfilled with the data owner usage policy. So it's really important that people that are accessing my data are using my data only in the way that I define, okay? The security, of course, the way we exchange the data is important. The part that IDSA defines an ecosystem. So we are not, IDSA is not requiring to create a central data storage, okay? But the idea is to create a decentralized data storage, okay? And so we need that all the data sources as described, and it's important that all the vocabularies are aligned, okay? Of course, the interoperability is based on this standard, okay? So there will be a main part of the architecture is the element called connector that's control all these kind of assets. So which kind of data are you sharing, who is accessing to your data? And last, let's say the value adding up. So let's say it's not just a pure data exchange. It's not just a matter of exchanges data in a secure and trusted way. The point is create business over this data and create data application that can add services and add, let's say, value to the companies. Just to remind you that the IDSA architecture standards have been adopted by Gaia-X. So I think that all of you have been, let's say, known about Gaia-X, that is an association that's initiatives, and then is now has been created the association that is promoting the creation of a data ecosystem, data space infrastructure within Europe, but not only Europe. It's a really big European initiative. The ecosystem of Gaia-X is composed by an infrastructure ecosystem and a data ecosystem, okay? And there will be federation services that will be able to use this data, and there will be policy rules and architecture. The combination of Gaia-X and IDSA will enable the build-up of data space and the creation of smaller services. So it's really important that this association, the standard and the architecture that has been created by IDSA, has been chosen by Gaia-X as the standard for the data exchange in these services. Cefriel is, just for you to know, represents the Italian hub of this association. The community is really growing. There are a lot of companies that are already being part of the Italian company, but also that are belonging, joining the hub. But the activity, what we have done, it's let's say webinar, technical courses, research, and innovation project in order to experiment this approach to the data space and bring to market this solution. These are just some companies that are belonging to this International Data Space Association. Let's go to some concrete examples. So apart from the theory, let's start with some example of these. So first use case is called the finance for the zero, because, for example, in a supply chain ecosystem, partner can exchange data on spare parts, for example, or their status for production projects and production plan. And from an ecosystem and servitization perspective, the idea is that partner can exchange certified information relating to the progress of production. So if I have a supplier, I am interested in getting this kind of data in how is the production of my spare parts of my inputs is going, okay? Or, for example, the quality. Okay, how the quality tests are going. So are you being able to deliver to me the spare parts, all the other components in time or not? Which are the benefit in this kind of use case? The manufacturer that is waiting from suppliers of subcontractor will have the visibility on the progress of orders and the quality of the order. So will help them to not face with not supply, low quality issues. So this is really important for the manufacturer. But what is the benefit for the supplier? For example, the supplier can be incentivized to provide this data to the producer through commercial levers. So advanced payments, loan from banks, for this is the finance for the zero, or for example, for the planning of future orders. So as soon as I get the data about the progress, I can give you money before the contract, or I can plan a future order based on the performance of the previous order. So I think that's really important. For example, we are seeing a kind of scenario like this for a fashion company that has subcontracting, that is sending to them the fabric for the jackets, and they are really, for them is really important that the quality of the parts that are they shipping to them is verified, and they are also willing to pay before if they know that the quality has been certified by someone, and that they will not have a surprise at the end. So this is a kind of real concrete scenario for a fashion company. Another project that has been developing within the EIT manufacturing framework is called the AISOV project. So it's really fit with the European strategy that to create a real usable and industrial data space ecosystem in order to exchange the data among company in a closed supply chain. So we are not talking about an open data marketplace, but a closed supply chain industrial ecosystem. And the idea is to use this data space in order to share, exchange AI results. So which are the ingredients of this project? So a trusted industrial data platform, data sources that are fair, so findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reusability. There are governance rules in order to manage all this kind of workflow in sharing the data and accessing the data, and of course the AI application to be shared. As you can see in this schema, there is then a viewpoint. One thing is the access control. So who can access, what you can do, and what resources do you want to access and when. But then we also need to enforce the user control. So the anonymization, the fact that the data are not forwardable, the integrity of data is certified, and maybe there is an auto expiration. So we are really aiming to create a data-centric control, okay, of the data in this project, in this data space. We have two use cases. One is from Whirlpool, that is from spare part optimization and predictive maintenance. So in this use case, Whirlpool will share the result of forecasting processes to plan the production, storage, and distribution of spare parts into their spare parts supplier. Okay, this will allow the supplier to better plan the components and deliver them to Whirlpool warehouse. Of course, minimizing all the costs associated with all this process. The other use case is on predictive maintenance, okay? So we will share within this ecosystem with that data space the prediction about the remaining life of some components, okay? And this data will be used by the external partner to plan preventive maintenance under contract, okay, or to optimize their design. The idea is not just to share the data, but to share all this kind of data in the domain, in the way that I just described to you, so to define really usage control policies. The other use case within this project is related to Sonai. Sonai is a Portuguese company that is producing wood, and they will use this data space to share a recommendation for wood-based material sector and to generate business lead and to share through the value chain all this kind of data. So really two different.
Nadia, sorry, we have just 5 minutes if they have questions for you.
Yes, I just was just the conclusion. So I've seen that there are a lot of use cases, but of course you are probably the people here will have a lot of them more. And let's go to the chat.
Thanks a lot. So I'm just waiting to see the questions. I think always the first day is long and tiring. Yeah. So people are staying till the last time. So I'm happy for that. We still have one presentation from Enrica Bosani. In a while, Enrica, you will get co-host option, but just I'm waiting for questions. Questions, guys. For 5 minutes, we have questions. Otherwise, if you don't voluntarily ask questions, I'll push you into that.
So if anyone is interested in having more information about IDSA standards approach and how to put this approach architecture and standards, so I'm really highlighting this word that is the standard that is becoming the European standard for the sharing of the data. Just get in touch with me, with Cefriel, and we will provide you more details about this and how you can use this kind of not technologies, but approach.
Yeah, thanks a lot.